to Power Women of the Trades podcast. This show is all about breaking barriers and changing the game. Our guests will feature some of today's most successful female entrepreneurs and other advocates of our industry as well. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, female-led entrepreneurship drives change on multiple levels. We want to empower women in the trade industry like you so you can maximize your potential, stay balanced, achieve long-term success, and claim ownership over your life. Let's get started.
Hey, it's Cassie and Leslie with Power Women of the Trades podcast. We are so excited to be here today with Mary Jean Anderson of Anderson Plumbing, Heating, and Air in San Diego, California. Leslie and I, when we started this podcast, were really eager to make sure that we took the time to find women doing big business in our space. And the very first person I said at the beginning of that conversation was, we have to find Mary Jean Anderson. We have to get her. We have to talk to her. And you're a busy lady, Mary Jean. So we're so excited that you agreed to be with us today. And welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's fun to be here. I enjoy it.
Awesome.
It's been a wild ride and lots of ups and downs, and ended up right where I was supposed to be, I guess. So very grateful to get to share that story.
Well, and we're so excited for you to share your story. If you want to just kind of go back to the beginning, from what I remember in the book, you started out in new construction plumbing, right? And then that became a journey to where you are now. If you kind of want to touch on that and just tell us a little bit about that.
You know, let me start by saying that there are a lot of people that are successful in new construction. I don't know how they do it. I really don't, but that was where the journey started and probably the unraveling, to be honest, of our marriage. So like most women that get into the trades, initially, it was a husband and wife deal. And we just couldn't make any money and constantly circling the drain, really is a good way to put it, just waiting to go down. And I kept thinking about how you had to pay your people, and then you had to pay your materials. And then 90 days later, you would get 90% of the money that of your billing, and 10% was held retention, when there really wasn't for us anywhere near close to 10% in profit. And it didn't make sense. And I kept thinking of, how the Costco model worked, where they would, pay their suppliers 60 days later, and all of the supplies were used in the meantime. And to me, that made just very logical sense, is that this is what we should be doing. And so I really wanted to get into service and repair. My husband actually didn't like service and repair. He was kind of a blow and go guy. He was a plumber working out in the field, and he loved the new construction, the freedom of the new construction. And so for him, he really didn't want to do it. And as we continued to lose money, I talked him into trying it, and we did pretty well. We started making some money. You get paid today, you pay your guys on Friday, and then hopefully you can pay your suppliers in 2 months. And now you're working off of their money, not our money, which was new construction, right? So that's really the way it started. And then I went to Arizona and started a company there in Anderson, in Arizona, in Phoenix. And we did quite well. And then while I was there, my husband in San Diego decided that he wanted to get back into new construction. And I remember thinking, God, I really don't want to do this. We've worked so hard to start becoming profitable in San Diego. Then we had this opportunity to open in Arizona, and I was making money there. And it was straight service. So I was like, this is the way to do it. We got the model. But my husband, he really just didn't like it. And so, I think I got to Arizona, honestly, just to get a break and see what I could do on my own, kind of. And so when I came back to San Diego, well, I'll never forget the next, I've been running it for 2 years. And you know how hard we work in this industry. We work day and night. This is not an industry for the faint of heart. We work hard. And so I remember when we went to do our taxes, our accountant said, wow, I'm glad you made that money in Arizona, because I think we've been in business like 15 years or something by then. And he said all that hard work would have gone down the tubes, because the money that I made, he lost in new construction. And that was kind of like just the icing on the cake for me. And so I just decided, it was hard because I was doing the kids stuff. And this is getting really personal, but I was doing the kids stuff all of it and working hard. And I was working night and day. And then all of the money that I worked for was gone. So a couple of years later, I sold Arizona and we used that money to split our assets and get divorced. And then we worked together for 4 years, still staying in service and repair because then by then he learned it. The problem was the industry was changing so much and he just didn't have the patience. He didn't have what it took. And I feel bad as I learn about, as the industry's progressed and I've learned about personalities and, who sits on the right seat on the bus and why you're successful. I realized where he could have been in our business that probably would have really excelled him. But, you don't know what you don't know. So we worked together for about 4 years. And then one day my right arm quit because he was a yeller and screamer and didn't believe in rewards. He believed, and a lot of people still believe this, and this is a difference between success and failure. If you want to know the secret, I think, to all this, is that he believed you get your check on Friday and that was your reward. But what I've learned over the years is that people need more than just that check on Friday, whether it's personal time off, whether it's a lot of attaboys, there's a lot, whether it's bonuses. I mean, people all thrive in different areas and not a paycheck on Friday. That's not just the answer for everybody, right? So anyway, we were into it 4 years and my right arm quit and he walked into my office and he said, I want to go. I don't like this. I don't like service and repair. I just don't like what we're doing. Will you buy me out? And so I remember calling Debbie and saying, hey, we're all, I was getting my real estate license. I had decided I was done. And I got my real estate license. I was working on getting my real estate license when all this came about. And so I thought, geez, I went home that night and thought, do I want to do this? I mean, it was kind of a new, exciting thing. I've been doing the other for a while. And then I thought to myself, I was bitching and moaning all the time about we weren't doing it right. We weren't doing it right. We weren't doing it right. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I say, yeah. So lots of rumors about how I got there, but this is how I got there. So I went back the next day and said, you know what? Sure, I'll buy you out. So we worked out an agreement, just like we did with our divorce. We worked it out, in advance and got divorced. We worked out this in advance. And he worked as a consultant for me and helped me for a couple of years. And I paid him extra for consulting, not from the office, but from home. And I just dug in deep. And that was where the company turned around. And it turned around because I sat with my team and said, let's write out who we want to be. And we wrote out a mission statement and we came up with a tagline, nobody wows clients like we do. And we decided that this is who we were going to be, the old fake it till you make it. This is who we wanted to be. And it was this core team of 30 people. And I think we were at about 4 million in revenue at that time, maybe 3.2, somewhere 4.2, somewhere in that with these 30 people. And we said, this is it. And I still have some of those team members today, actually many of those team members of those 30 people today. And here we are, that was in 2000. So 23 years later, we are now, this year we'll do 60 million. That's our budget for 2023. We're right on target. We were right ruthless. In fact, we came in 400,000 over our budget for January and February. We're 200,000 over, pacing 200,000 over month to date. So I'm sure we'll hit our 60 million. We have 280-ish employees on any given day. We are in over 220 homes per day, every day. And we managed to keep a 4.8 Google rating. We do double-digit profitability. We came in at 14% last year. We budgeted to do 16% this year. I don't know, with the rising costs of materials and trying to keep up with that. But I mean, that's the story. So grateful, blessed, and it's all about putting the right people on the right seats on the bus.
Yeah. And I think for me, what I'm hearing is the biggest change for you was your focus on the business and creating a culture and an experience for your team. I feel like that's such a profound moment in most businesses. We hear culture a lot, but the culture does matter. It's not always everything that we can't blame it on everything, but we can on a lot of things. And I think what I'm hearing is that was a huge focus for you to create that experience.
It was all about the culture. I completely agree with you. I think it's the most important part of business.
During that time when you bought out your ex-husband and he left, talking about culture, how did that impact your current team? Did you have people, did it create any instability at the shop? What kind of things did you have to overcome to say, hey, I know you're seeing this happen. I want to keep your confidence in Anderson. What kind of things did you experience? Because I hear that, and unless you are a husband and wife team, nobody really knows the struggle of running that. It can be very, very, very difficult. My question is, what happened in the shop when that happened? Because that was such a personal thing playing out professionally.
Yeah. We worked together, divorced for 4 years. So people, that part of it, they knew that we worked together and that, so when he left, I don't think it was that big a deal, but I immediately called a meeting and said, this is what's happening. Walt's going to be in the background. I'm going to be asking him questions and I'm going to be, using him as a consultant. He's agreed to do that, but this is where we come together. And there were a couple of people, Sisto and Jose, come to mind right away. They're still with me. Sisto's been with me. Well, he's been with the company over 40 years. He and I are the same age. And I said, I need you guys. You have to be there for me. You commit to this, and we just had this, I don't know, this is our family. We're on the same page together. And we sat down and discussed openly what were the fears, what were the positive things about this, and how we were going to tackle them. And that's when we wrote our mission statement. Our mission statement's really big in our business. It's like our Pledge of Allegiance, so to speak. And we do actually read it in our meetings and we take turns. So different people read different sections of it because we defined exactly who we were going to be and exactly it to a T, we're going to be safe. We're going to sacrifice profits over safety. Safety comes first. The customer's always right, even when they're wrong, so everyone knew coming in, and anyone that we hire today knows this is who we are. This is what we stand for. That's why I go back to culture being so important. And I think I was always the fixer in the background anyway. My husband understood the plumbing, the really technical part of it. Very smart man. And we're still good friends today, by the way. I don't want you to think this is any kind of horrible thing. It wasn't. He comes over every Christmas with his wife and every Thanksgiving and, that kind of thing. And we have kids together. So we still have a life together. But it just, it was just kind of without you guys, I can't do this. So I hope you're going to come on the ride with me. And they still did and still do.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Well, that's a real testament to both of you guys. You'd already created such an impactful culture prior to that happening.
So, something I have, a question I have is, thinking back to 2000 and then what has happened since 2000, we've had, a recession, 9/11, a recession, we've had COVID and anything and everything in between. So
supply chain issues that are now something else. I feel like we experience this as a conversation too, while you're touching on that, is PE and PE in your area. If you haven't sold your business yet, when you're still small potatoes, so to speak, and how do you combat that? So there's been a lot of changes.
Yeah. So really just kind of grouping all of that together, what do you do or how do you combat those hard days of those uncertainties? Knowing, and not even just on PE, because we know where you're at with that, but when you were smaller and you didn't know what was happening, or specifically the recession and are we going to make it through this, and COVID, what do you do? How do you stay motivated and focused? And because I think a lot of us often get into the sky is falling, and then we probably create our own issues from our own emotions. So what do you feel you do that helps, get through those times?
And is there anything looking back that you would have done differently? Sorry, had to throw that in there.
Yeah. You know what? I would have done nothing, absolutely nothing differently. Nothing at all. I'm really good at learning from my mistakes. And this has been a journey of, I don't even want to get emotional when I say it, but a journey of a life experience that has been up and down, but from the downs, the ups were really high. And I'm grateful for every single minute of it. But I will say the only way I can speak to you is by the experience. So in 2004, I ran the business and we're doing plumbing and I'm doing, and I got this and service, it turns around and we're profitable. And I'm able to, because we were in debt when I bought my husband out, plus I owed him money. So it was tough. And so I'm paying him, keeping that money going. Everything's going great. We're making money. Service business is good. And I decided to add heating and air. And know what I'm doing. So I do what I think is a good due diligence, buy a heating and air company, which was all smoke and mirrors, by the way, pay $500,000 for it. That was a lot of money back then. I just didn't do a proper due diligence. I thought I did. I really did. Thought I put a lot of energy into it. It was smoke and mirrors. So I was trying to run it like a plumbing company. There are two different sets of margins, everything. Then the Great Recession hits. And I have a lot of middle management that I had to let go. And my companies, my family, it was brutal. But I had to do it. I waited too long. I kept sinking deeper and deeper. I kept losing money. And all the money I made in plumbing was paying for the losses in heating and air. And then pretty soon I was getting further in debt. Cash flow was tightening. And I come from a family where failure is not an option and I wasn't going to fail. Even though I felt like a failure, I did feel deeply in my soul like I was a failure, but failure in my family wasn't an option. And so luckily, and this goes down another whole path, but luckily, talk about not wanting to change anything. I am ADD and I also have a learning disability, a form of dyslexia. Had no idea. My daughter was diagnosed with it in 9th grade, and that's when I realized what my issue was. But anyway, the blessing of that was that I learned early that somebody had the answer, and I had to get through school. I had to learn to ask for help. So that's what I did. And I think this is where women are more successful than men in these businesses in a lot because, man, I mean, let's face it, men back before GPS wouldn't even ask for direction. You'd circle blocks for hours and they'd just, I'll find it, but they wouldn't ask for direction. And so I started looking for direction and I found Nexstar. And I found Nexstar online, went to a Nexstar meeting, and I remember it was John Conway who was speaking. And he was up on the stage saying that when he joined Nexstar, he was almost $1 million in debt. Because I didn't hit it. I was $990,000, but I never hit $1 million. And I'm in the audience, like trying to like anybody notices that I'm bawling. Because guess what? I was $1 million in debt. I was there. But I thought, this is my answer. Nexstar's my answer. It's got to be my answer. And so I joined and I was hoping my credit card would go through. Like, is it going to go through? Like, will it accept this charge? Because I didn't even know. I didn't even know if it was going to clear. Run the credit card. It goes through. I'm a Nexstar member. And I was assigned a man. I called him a couple of times. Nothing wrong with the man, but I was assigned a guy. His name was Jim Hamilton. Called him a couple of times. He said, I'll get to you in a few days. I'm really busy like next week. And I thought, no, they don't understand. I need help like right now. I don't even know how long my credit card's going to keep going. So I called and I talked to a CEO at the time. And I said, hey, I need somebody now. And because, we have a woman, Jody Peter, who I think every day, and she came from the plumbing industry, but had an emphasis on heating and air. Called her. She said, let's talk. I said, okay, I need to close heating and air. And I need to figure out how I can make enough money in plumbing. I'm talking really fast because, this is crisis time for me. And I remember her exact words. I see her now and then. We laugh about it. And she'll walk up to me and go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Because that's what she said to me. Whoa, 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 whoa. Can you at least let me hear about your heating and air company? I'm pretty good at heating and air. Anyway, she helped me turn that around, taught me about, the different margins, how the different industries are different. And I will tell you one thing. I was so desperate. And I love Nexstar. That's why I sat on their board. That's why I give back anytime I can to Nexstar. These were proven people. These are people that made it already. And they're giving you direction. What better in the world is there than some successful person giving you direction? So if they were to say do cartwheels down the center of this hallway right now, I would have done cartwheels down the center of the hallway right then. And I can't do cartwheels, but I knew that they were professionals. I knew they were successful. And I knew I had to do what they told me to do. And I think that is the woman. I mean, think about that. I just think that's a woman, and I'm not against men or anything. And I work with all men, and I love working with men. Actually, I think they're just honest and they put it out in front of you, and they move forward. But there's something, I don't know. At least it's me. I'm not afraid to take direction. I can swallow my pride. I have big shoulders. That's what I say at work. Just tell me what I'm missing. Tell me what to do. And so I got that direction from Nexstar, and I paid off that $1 million in 2 years, guys. 2 years, $1 million. I was out of debt, and it just grew from there. And it was just doing exactly what they told me to do when they do it. I see Nexstar, to be honest, even sitting on the board, I saw it more in depth. You see the companies who utilize Nexstar who are successful, and those who dance around the edge of the plate, but they never completely jump in. And, you can look at their scores, like how much of Nexstar they use. And the ones that you hear that just aren't really making it, I mean, they're making it, they're getting by, but they're not really making it. Like I made it. They're not utilizing all the tools that are available. So, I mean, there's my pitch for Nexstar.
Hearing you say that, all I'm hearing in my mind is work the model.
Yeah.
Work the model. Work the model.
You know what the most impactful thing that is, we did BPW in December, and it's really hard for me to sit down for 8 hours a day. I am also ADHD. I have to move around, but we brought our coach on site and had our management, and then Brett and I. And for the first time when we left budget planning, we had so much hope, and the way it was explained to us, and it was these small 2% changes that we could implement in our business immediately. The very next month, so we did it in December, the very next month, we ran with a 22% net and had never done that before. And it was, sitting through conferences and stuff are really hard for me. It just is hard. But there was something about that budget breakdown that unlocked something in my brain about understanding how all of this works. And I just remember feeling so thankful there were people smarter than me that had this figured out.
Well, and I think we always say some advice that we were given once was hire people smarter than you. And at first, it was like, not necessarily hard for me to do that, but you want to, as the owner, you feel like you should know everything, and it's okay to say, I don't, but I can get the help. One thing, speaking of Nexstar, we're all 3 Nexstar members, and we are huge, huge fans of Nexstar, but this comes up a lot for Leslie and I. They're maybe in the $0 to $4 million range, a newer company, or a company that Nexstar is locked out in the area. Do you recommend someone? Because we truly believe a best practice group is the way to go. And maybe not even necessarily, go to this group, but what advice do you have to those companies that maybe can't get into Nexstar but need that knowledge?
I would just say in general in life is, my mom always said to me growing up, and I really took this to heart, show me your friends and I'll tell you about you. That was the Italian, my family were immigrants from Italy, and my grandparents anyway. And I think you have to hang around people smarter than you. You have to put yourself in those uncomfortable positions. I remember the first board I sat on, I knew I had to join this board. I knew it was the Better Business Bureau Board of Directors. And I knew it was a step I had taken. I'm sitting with people who have MBAs, and hey, I didn't graduate college. So yeah, I dropped out. And so I was, I was super uncomfortable. But no matter Nexstar or not Nexstar, there are going to be people out there smarter than you. Like you said, hire people smarter than you, get into a support group. I would say PHCC, except in reality, PHCC really hasn't adapted the service industry. We're members, but I couldn't honestly recommend them. But you've got to go to companies, find a company that's successful. There's got to be, if you're not a Nexstar member, a company successful in your area that you, or even not in your area, that you can go to and sit. I mean, I can't tell you how many companies once I joined Nexstar, but I would go to, I remember Wyatt Hepworth from Anyhour, just different. I could name many companies that I went, and I spent the night in a hotel by myself, and went and just said, can I just be a silent person? Can I follow you around? So if you're not a Nextstar member, that Nextstar is just one group. There are many people out there who are successful and they don't mind passing along what they know. So I think my biggest, for those people, I would say seek out, find, ask for help. Find a Nextstar member. Say, you know what? I really want to be a Nextstar member. There's no openings. Can I come and see your shop? I know you can't give me the Nextstar secrets, but in general, can you mentor me just a little bit? And can you tell Nextstar that I want to be the next person that opens up in the area? There's other groups. I don't know the names of them. I know there was a good guy, Kenny Chapman's out there, Blue Collar. I like him. I think he's good. It's called Blue Collar something, Kenny Chapman. You can seek him out. He's good. There's people out there. It doesn't really even have to be in your industry. Business is business.
Right.
And I think that's so true. What you're saying is just like find a network and then just jump in. But you have to be vulnerable and humble. Like I was talking to teachable, coachable for sure. I was talking to our business coach and I said, sometimes I don't want to share when we're at Nextstar and I don't want to share because I don't want to sound stupid. And he said, Cassie, when I was a Nextstar member before he was a coach, he said, when we would have breakouts, I used to go upstairs to my hotel room so I didn't have to share because I didn't want to give that information out. And he said, when I started growing is when I started sharing and so what I have to remind myself is no one has this all figured out. And we had to learn. I mean, you're telling us your family immigrated here, right? You did not graduate with any degree, neither did I. And you sought out big business and you're going to do $60 million a year this year with no degree. I just think that that's such a huge accomplishment for you, but it's such a huge piece for anyone listening of don't put stipulations or expectations on yourself that don't necessarily matter. Yeah, we all wish we had gone maybe and done this or done that and had this degree or whatnot. But at the end of the day, if you're just willing to sit back and shut up and just learn and then be willing to say, yeah, I mean, we've been there too. We're in debt and how do we get past this? And Leslie and I both were in new construction at one time too. So when you were telling that story, we're both like a little PTSD and we know someone is making money on it somewhere, right? We like you, we didn't know how.
It's not really set up.
It's not set up for that, but it's, you have to listen and you have to be willing to jump out there and just say, someone teach me and surround yourself with smart people. So I love that.
I do have some business questions I want to ask you based on your book. So you talked about, if I remember correctly, in your book, you bought a franchise at one point, right? Was it Any Hour? And then you had acquired 2 other companies. What is the benefit of acquiring a smaller business in your area instead of just spending more money on marketing and recruiting?
Well, let me start by saying, and this is my opinion. So anybody listening to this, take it or leave it. Do not buy a franchise. You don't need to be paying franchise fees. You can do it yourself. Nextstar has incredible marketing, and there's other platforms out there the same way that has incredible direction in marketing. That was a huge waste of money and time when we got involved in a franchise. I was in and out in 90 days. For my opinion, total waste of money. Do it yourself. Get the support you need. Spend your money there and not be locked into a franchise fee for the rest of your life. It's just, there's so very few that are successful in the long term, number one. And then try to sell when you're a franchise. That's out. So, well, I guess it's not out, but anyway. And buying a small company, I did. I bought one. The one I bought was Smoke and Mirrors. I have to tell you, I know many people who have I have a dear friend in LA who built his entire company. His marketing was horrible marketing. He built his company specifically on buying small companies, rolling them in. There's many ways to do it. I love the marketing aspect of it. I was able to build our company on marketing. When I bought a tuck-in, I wasn't successful at it. And it ended up, right before that was in 2007, the Great Recession in 2008. So I wasn't good at it. Luckily, my strong point is marketing. And I will say for the women out there, especially if you're just starting in business, market it as a woman. when I started this as a woman, believe me, it wasn't. It was not easy. I was shunned by every male run company in our industry. Very mean things were said about me. I actually even wrote my book out. I went to counseling. It would break my heart, the rumors that I heard about me sleeping with all of our technicians. I mean, just ridiculous stuff because people couldn't understand how I could be successful, a woman in a man's industry. Since then, the tides have turned greatly. And I will say part of my success is marketing as a woman-owned company. And I have many people, men and women, who support our company because it's woman-owned. So we went with pink and white. If anybody wants to look at our website and get, it's AndersonPHA.com for plumbing, heating, and air. AndersonPHA.com if you want to look at our colors and, all of that to get. But it is an advantage it's unique, right? If you see predominantly every plumbing and HVAC company is red, white, and blue. It's either blue and white or red, red, white, and blue, or blue and, it's always those colors. And so the pink stood out when I do my billboards. You see giant pink billboards. I mean, they just stand out. We became known. That is one of the secrets to the fast growth of our company. If you think about in 2004, we were 4.2 million and we'll do 60 million this year. That's, significant growth year over year. So it is because we're unique, we're different. And when you make your company unique, so women, if you're a woman and starting out, be proud, put it out there, put your face on the track.
I think the rumors, you speaking about the rumors, that's been one of the hardest things for us. And even, we are both married to our husbands who were in the industry first, and brought us in. And it's just like, it's hard to listen to things that people say sometimes it's like, I'm married to this guy and I'm not doing anything. Or she only married him for this. Well, no, we started and we had nothing.
Nothing.
Zero. It's insane to me that the thought could be that we couldn't have done it together, or it's just such a crazy world. But I think that that's such a good reminder of, get that counseling when you need to, but don't give up and fight like hell if you have to prove, I think your tenacity, I think that shows more than anything here of I wasn't going to fail and I was going to just keep proving them all wrong. And I think that's exactly what you did.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Like I said, I'm an open book. I have nothing to hide, literally. I'm not embarrassed that I was born a strong woman and I, had little confidence in myself until I learned I had a learning disability, by the way. That really changed things for me. But the point is that I really learned that, you just can't listen to what people ask you, be true to yourself. If you're honest, you're ethical, you're living your life right. You have nothing to be ashamed of and be proud of where you've gotten.
I love that.
Well, we want to be respectful of your time, and
I don't want to be respectful. I have more questions.
5 million questions.
But we don't have time.
We don't have time. We would love to maybe sometime talk to you about coming on maybe once a quarter or something to just share your wisdom. I don't know. But I think for now, what's next for Mary Jean? What are you doing?
And how can people get a hold of you?
Oh, sure. Best is through email, mj@Anderson, and that's AndersonPHA.com. Or, that would be the best way. I will tell you that I did sell the majority of my company to a PE firm. I'm still active and working in the company. I actually plan on retiring in August. That's still up in the air. I can talk to you more about PE and sales at another time for people that are interested in that. But I will say that I sold my company for millions and millions, like millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. It's insane. But I never thought that would happen to me, ladies. I just want to close by saying to anybody listening, I never in a million years thought I'd end up where I am. But what I am is a hard worker. I will always ask for help. I am not embarrassed by asking for help. I believe in people. I love people, and I love to watch people become successful. And my whole goal in running my company was to watch the people I work with become successful in themselves. That's the secret. It's that quick. It's that easy.
There's no silver bullet. It's just that. It's exactly what you said. I mean, that made me almost cry.
That makes me emotional.
That made me emotional. I got goosebumps. I think that, I think that's it. It's just people and growth and change and being willing to just do all of those things.
You're amazing. And we're just so grateful.
Can
to
you
have
adopt
on.
us?
I know.
Will you
There's so much more. Talking to you and just hearing your experience, to be on the other side of it and then hear where you are now. And some days are really hard to see the end because you're dealing with humans and you're dealing with emotions and you think, how is this ever going to work out? So it's such a joy to me to get to hear your story and where you are now. And, like there's light at the end of the tunnel, I guess, you know.
If there is. And when you get to a point in business where you get to do what you like to do, it's amazing. And that's where I am right now. That's why I'm supposed to retire in August, but I don't know because I do the marketing. I don't do anything else at all. I mean, I look at the financials, I approve them, I consult. My daughter will call me and say, hey, I'm stuck on this. My son will call and say, I'm stuck on this. They're still very active in the business. I think my daughter's going to take the leadership role when I retire to face the company because it's woman owned, but they're both equally working in it. But yeah, it got to a point, it's to a point now where I get to do what I love to do. So, but it's a struggle. Getting through it is a struggle. It's not easy and it's not for the faint of heart. You have to work hard and you have to be willing to be humble.
Amen.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much. I'm like speechless. I really, really appreciate you. I know Leslie does too. And it just gives us so much more hope for ourselves and, and all of our growth with Next Star also. And we really appreciate you. So
we do.
Well, I tell you to do. I know it's like drinking from a fire hose, but just do one thing at a time. They say how to eat an elephant, one bite at a time, right? And it'll work. It'll work. I promise you it'll work.
It'll work. We believe it.
Thank you so much.
This has been Power Women of the Trades. Like what you hear so far? Leave us a review at Apple and make sure to listen to our other episodes wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.